Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Jason Krueger. He's an advisor with Aventis Wealth Advisory. Jason, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me this morning, Mark. I'm excited to be here.
Jason, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of folks that you specialize in helping?
Sure. I help professionals make everyday decisions about their finances. We all have so much that we're bombarded with every day. So it's very helpful for others to be able to outsource a lot of these decisions to others. Our bandwidth is very limited. So by taking a piece of that from others, I allow them to widen their bandwidth for the things that are more important to them.
That makes a ton of sense, and that's why I don't cut my own hair. And I can't even imagine something as complicated as financing, wanting to do that myself either. So Jason, for the folks that you help, what are their biggest concerns on their minds? What do they commonly reach out to you for?
A lot of them reach out because they're in this dilemma that they often have a lot of financial resources, but we all have a finite amount of time. So they try to use their finances, their dollars, as best they can to get the most out of their time. For instance, a lot of people don't even know if they're on track. They have left New York City Harbor in a boat going to Europe, and they don't know where they are on the Atlantic. They don't know which port they will land in. They want to make sure that they are on track for the place that they're trying to achieve and where they are along on that journey.
So I imagine in this world of information overload, as you mentioned, and our lack of bandwidth, do you still hear people like repeating myths or misconceptions out there? What kind of big, things do you hear that might be, inadvertently sabotaging people's success?
All the time, people have these rules of thumb, these metrics that they've heard in the media or from others that I need to have X amount saved. I need to have X amount in my portfolio structured this way. And that's all helpful a little bit, but everyone's different. Everyone's trying to achieve different things in their life. People have different lifestyles, goals. So those can often put people astray, that they need to look more closely at themselves and their family and what's important to them and align their resources with their values so they can customize that path that they are on.
Now, speaking of this recent pandemic, has this changed any of the strategies that you advise folks with? Or has it just changed the perspectives or the concerns people have? What's the pandemic done?
It's really put more focus on time, that it is so finite and tomorrow is promised to no one. We've been reminded that especially since the pandemic. We've had a lot of people say, you know what, I want to start my transition out of my life's work sooner and use the finite amount of time that I still have left, spend it with my grandchildren, with my passions, my hobbies, not what was my passion, my career. Now I want to change that and open up more time for me and my family. So I think it's really struck a tone of mortality with people, and that why are you doing all this? Why are you continuing to build this wealth if you may not have the time or the energy to enjoy it?
Jason, we talked a little bit about misconceptions. Now, linked to that, when you start working with folks, do you see those misconceptions like kind of turn into mistakes or pitfalls that you see people commonly making? What are some big ones that you see people make you can kind of warn folks about?
One of the most common mistakes I have found is people's reluctance to spend their savings. That for decades, their entire life, that all they've known is climb, skimp, save, stash, hoard. And for what? You saved it so you can have more flexibility, so you can spend it later. We go without today for a better life tomorrow. So one of the big mistakes I see people make is after they start that transition, they have said, I want more time for me and my family, that they are then reluctant to tap into that savings. And I say, well, why did you save it then? So that's one of those really light bulb moments. And that light bulb sometimes doesn't shine for 2 years. It's on like that ramp up setting almost, where it slowly builds up. And then one day they go, yes, now is the time that I am more comfortable starting to spend my savings.
I could imagine years long or decades long of a habit, even though it's a good habit. It could be totally hard to break. I could see that. So,
yeah, the
Jason,
struggle is real.
what inspired you to get into this line of work and help people with their finances? How did you get started?
I've always enjoyed math and problem solving and using creativity. I also really enjoy helping people and having close connections, relationships with individuals and families. So during the first couple of years of college, where we're all trying to figure out exactly what we want to be when we grow up, going to all the different informational meetings, I learned what a financial planner did. And I knew at that second, that was the path for me because I can check all of these boxes.
That's excellent. I wish it was that clear for so many people. You're very fortunate to find that passion in something that you just saw and you're like, that's for me. That's awesome. Jason, before I ask you my last question, for folks that know they need to get their financial houses in order, but they just don't know where to start, what would you advise them is the most important thing to look for when choosing an advisor?
Transparency and someone that you can be comfortable communicating with. All relationships are built on the bedrock, the foundation of honest and open communication. So when you are speaking with an advisor or any professional in your life, be it a medical professional, accountant, advisor, you want to feel comfortable and have a good rapport that you can communicate effectively, because without that, you have nothing. So, of course, make sure that they're trustworthy and transparent and that you can really tell them about your fears and dreams, what drives you, what makes you tick, what keeps you up at night. Because if you can't have that, you have nothing.
For folks listening now that would love to speak with you, Jason, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
I'm easily found on the internet. You can Google Jason Krieger with Aventis Wealth Advisors or visit my website, www.ameripriseadvisors.com/Jason_J_Krieger, and you'll come across me. That was a mouthful, but just Googling Jason Krieger Advisor, I'm sure I'll be found pretty quickly.
And we'll make sure we include that link also in this interview. So Jason, this has been terrific. You've shared some really sage advice, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure being here today. I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great holiday season with you and your family and all your listeners.
Likewise, that was Jason Krieger. He's an advisor with Aventis Wealth Advisory. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.